So my name is Kyle Garner, and I'm obviously a student in AEC3414 Leadership Development. And so with this task of having a leadership interview, I was so excited about having an opportunity to learn more about leadership from somebody that I was really inspired by. So I selected my interviewee for this assignment to be Mr. Ronnie Simmons. So Mr. Simmons is the current executive director for the Florida FFA Association. And what really first inspired me about him was, witnessing his leadership throughout my time as a member of the Florida FFA Association. So all the way from 6th grade to my senior in high school in the 12th grade, I was a member of my local FFA chapter. And I was able to witness Mr. Simmons' remarkable leadership year after year as I attended various competitions, conferences, and I saw how he was able to lead every single state FFA officer team. He was able to lead his state staff, and how he was able to do it so genuinely, selflessly, and remarkably. And that was something that I was really inspired by. And so when I was given this task, this assignment for this course, I immediately thought of him. And so I reached out to Mr. Simmons, emailed him, and of course he was so excited to be able to help me with this assignment. And that was something that I was really looking forward to, because I wanted to learn more about him as a leader and how he first got started as a leader and how he has grown throughout the years, whether it was in this role as the executive director for the Florida FFA Association or any other role he served in throughout his lifetime. So my perception during the interview, I really first noticed how well spoken Mr. Simmons was. He speaks so eloquently, and he has, really all of his thoughts together. So that was something that I was really impressed by. His ability to speak is honestly admirable. Like, I was very jealous in his ability to, listen to a question and immediately think of an answer, and not just an answer, but one that really moves you and inspires you while doing so. And throughout his answers, I was also acknowledging how he had a strong value of personal growth that he has experienced throughout his life. So he shared with me his personal stories, starting with how when he was in high school, he recognized that he needed to kind of support himself in terms of his ambitions of going to college, and so he began working at his local Walmart. And so while working at Walmart, he was also a member of his local FFA chapter at South Central High School. He was involved in other organizations in high school. He was, supporting his family's business, but all doing that together, he was still able to, have that job at Walmart, and not just have that job, but able to grow in his responsibilities. So he started off as first a basic employee, and then kind of eventually moved up in the ranks at Walmart, and how he was able to, start off as being led by other individuals at Walmart, and then ending it by leading the people below him. And that allowed him to, really see both sides of leadership, those who follow and those who lead. And that was something that I thought was really cool. And he said that during his time at Walmart, that's what really kind of motivated him to continue to lead others beyond that career. So he eventually also served the Florida FFA Association as a state FFA officer, and then he went on to serve the National FFA organization as a national FFA officer. And he shared with me how both of those opportunities really expanded his vision of what it means to be a leader, and how he's able to lead, locally within the state of Florida, and then, nationwide. He also mentioned how when he was in college at the University of Florida, he was hired, as young as 20 years old as the executive director of the Florida FFA Association. I mean, looking at that position, you always would think that's going to be some person with, a ton of experience, somebody who's, held multiple positions prior to that. But they saw something in Ronnie when he was in, just in college, just, sophomore, junior college. They saw something that they felt would, allow him to really serve in that role and do a remarkable job. And so they hired him as an executive director at that point. And sharing all those things with me, and how he was saying, just from starting off as an employee at Walmart, and how that led him to, being the current executive director, first hired out of when he was in college, and continuing that employment all the way up until now, nearly 15 years. I thought that was something that was really impressive. I was really, glad to have that moment where we were able to, break down the walls and allow him to share his personal story, and how he acknowledged the personal growth that existed within his personal story. Throughout the questions I asked him and throughout our interview, I noticed a lot of key leadership characteristics that he maybe shared with me, or maybe just ones that I noticed. One of them being vulnerability. I kind of touched on that in that last question, and that was, how he was sharing his personal story. He was really vulnerable, and he, broke down the walls, and he was, just being genuine with me, and allowing me to really realize how he's grown as a leader and the things that he's done throughout his life that allowed him to be the leader he is today. He also has, a strong value of teamwork. So as the executive director for the Florida FFA Association, he leads the state FFA officer teams year after year. And so those teams consist of, 6 to 8 individuals that are fresh out of high school that he kind of has to guide throughout that experience as a state FFA officer. And he wants them to not only, serve in their roles individually, but he also wants them to, be cohesive as a group. So he has a strong appreciation of teamwork and be able to work with individuals that have diverse opinions and passions than your own. And he said that not only does he, share that with those state FFA officer teams that he oversees, but he also shares that in his own teams that he serves on. So as a member of the Florida FFA Board of Directors, he always wants to focus on working together as a team. They all have different, opinions on the business that is being handled, but he wants to make sure that they're still, working together as a team and able to come up with the best decision possible that is really going to impact the Florida FFA Association and its 18,000 FFA members and beyond. He also emphasized the importance of delegation. So he is the executive director of the Florida FFA Association, but then he has 2 individuals that are below him. He has Miss Hannah Cantrell, who is considered, the Central Region Director, Central Region Specialist that specializes in the FFA chapters in high schools and middle schools within Central Florida and South Florida. And he also has Aaron Walker, who focuses on the same tasks, but for the north central panhandle area of Florida. And so with both of those individuals who work below him that kind of help with the tasks that go on within the Florida FFA Association, it's difficult to manage and oversee them because they don't necessarily work at the same location as him. Miss Erin works up in the Panhandle, Miss Hannah works in Central Florida, he works in Gainesville, so they're all working at different areas, and he has the job of overseeing and directing them throughout their tasks. And he has this built up trust for them, and he has gained this ability to delegate tasks to them and trust that they're going to perform them to the best of their ability. He can't necessarily micromanage everything they're doing because they're at different areas of the state, but he doesn't need to micromanage. He just needs to delegate. He needs to, give them their task, give them their direction, and he trusts that they'll be able to do it. And having that ability to delegate those things to those individuals with the challenge of the distance is something that I think is really important. It's important to be able to delegate tasks to those individuals who do a better job than you, whose passions may best fit the assignments that are really involving whatever activity needs to be accomplished. And he also mentioned respect. Respect is really big with Mr. Simmons. He wants to ensure that not only individuals respect him, but he also shares that respect with those employees that he's working with those individuals he's on the board of directors with. And that was something that I was really inspired by. And then my perception of Mr. Simmons afterwards, I really, realized that he's dedicated to performing his duties to the best of his ability. He loves his job. He cares about, students and ensuring that they have the best experience in their agriculture education courses and their FFA chapters. And I think that's, honestly a really good quality to have. You need to enjoy what you're doing and you need to be passionate about it, because then that's when you're able to really grow and experience, the personal growth that comes with being in that role. And he also, I realized that he encourages people to join in on what he's doing. Throughout my interview with him, he was kind of sharing how I can get more involved with the Florida FFA Association. Even after graduating from high school, and not being really in the FFA anymore, he was mentioning to me how I can continue to serve, continue to give back to this organization. And he was really motivating about doing so. And so not only is he, trying to get more people to come and join him, but he's also motivating them while doing that. And I think that's a really good quality to have when you're kind of in that director role and you're having those people below you. You need to be a good motivator. You need to encourage those people to join you in what you're doing, because that's when they're going to experience, the same benefits and the same experiences that you value so very much. And then he had a few statements that, I thought really stuck out. One of them being, action without reflection is a waste of time. He was sharing that with me because of his emphasis he places on reflecting on what you're doing. You're doing various jobs and tasks in this role, but it's important for you to take the moment to reflect on what you're doing and learn from it. And if you're not really taking those moments to learn, then what was the point of doing action in the first place? And that's something that, I really want to hold true to my life, because I think that's important to always take those moments to, realize what are you doing and why are you doing it. He also said there's a quote called day in and day out. To him, life is about performing your tasks to the best of your ability every single day in and day out. And that was something that I thought was really unique. Overall, I think Mr. Simmons is a combination of a transformational and a democratic leadership style. He has clear communication, goal setting. He believes in motivating his employees, which is close to the transformational leadership style, but he also wants the input and considers the feedback from his team before making any decision. And that focuses on democratic leadership. And overall, I thought it was a great opportunity to meet with Mr. Simmons. I learned so much, and I look forward to continuing my time with Mr. Simmons in some other areas in the future.